You know, they're watching us, right? The voice crackled in the dimly lit cockpit, filled with tension. Captain Elias Ryder smirked, adjusting his worn leather gloves. He leaned forward, staring out at the endless expanse of stars, broken only by the imposing silhouette of the alien flagship hovering nearby. "They've been watching us since we entered their system," he replied, his voice calm but edged with intrigue. "And I'll bet my last credit they're wondering why we're crazy enough to come uninvited." His companion, a young linguist named Tessa Harrow, fidgeted with her comms device. "It's not just uninvited. No one has ever seen her face, Elias. And those who tried never came back. What makes you think this will be any different?" Elias chuckled, leaning back in his chair. "Because I'm not like anyone else. And neither are you." Tessa shot him a sharp look. "Flattery isn't going to save us if this goes sideways. They say the princess has powers, ones that can break minds. Do you really think you can talk to her without even seeing her face?" Elias's grin widened. "That's the plan. Besides, the universe is full of surprises. Maybe I'll charm her." Before Tessa could reply, the ship's console blinked with a sudden flurry of alien symbols. A deep, resonant tone filled the air, a summons. "They're letting us in," Tessa whispered, her voice tinged with both awe and fear. As their small craft was guided toward the flagship, Elias's thoughts wandered. The alien princess was a mystery wrapped in myth. Her people, the Luvaxians, were known across the galaxy for their strict traditions and otherworldly beauty. Yet, no one outside her species had ever seen her face. Those who dared seek her out often returned as hollowed shells, or didn't return at all. But for Elias, the stakes were worth the risk. Humanity's survival depended on it. Inside the Luvaxian flagship, the air shimmered with an iridescent glow. The corridors were lined with strange crystalline formations that pulsed gently, as if alive. Tessa followed closely behind Elias, her steps hesitant. "We shouldn't be here," she muttered under her breath. Elias didn't respond. His eyes were fixed on the figure waiting at the end of the corridor, a tall, imposing Luvaxian guard. The alien's silver skin gleamed under the strange light, and its piercing violet eyes studied them with an unreadable expression. "You are here to meet the princess," the guard said, its voice smooth yet cold. "Are you prepared to face the consequences of such an audacious request?" Elias nodded. "I am. Lead the way." The guard tilted its head, a flicker of something like amusement crossing its face. "Very well. But remember, she sees you before you see her." As they walked deeper into the heart of the flagship, Tessa leaned closer to Elias. "This is insane," she whispered. "We don't even know if she'll talk to us, let alone help us." "She will," Elias said confidently. "She has to." Finally, they entered a vast chamber, its walls shimmering like liquid starlight. At the center of the room was a raised platform, and on it sat a figure shrouded in a veil of golden light. The princess. Elias felt his breath catch. Even without seeing her face, there was an undeniable aura about her, something ancient and powerful. "You are bold to come here," the princess said, her voice melodic yet commanding. "Humans have always been curious, but curiosity can be a dangerous thing." Elias stepped forward, bowing slightly. "I don't come out of curiosity, Your Highness. I come out of necessity. My people are on the brink of destruction. We need your help." The princess tilted her head, her veil shifting slightly. "And what makes you think I would help your kind? Humans are reckless, driven by greed and destruction." Elias met her gaze, or at least, he thought he did. "Because we're also capable of change, of hope, of making things right. And because no one else dared to come here to ask." For a moment, there was silence. Then, the princess laughed softly. It was a sound both beautiful and unsettling. "You intrigue me, human," she said. "But intrigue alone will not save you. If you wish for my help, you must prove yourself worthy. Are you willing to do that?" Elias didn't hesitate. "Whatever it takes." The room fell silent as the princess regarded Elias. Though her face remained hidden, the weight of her gaze was palpable, pressing down on him like gravity. "You claim to act on behalf of your people," she said. "Yet words are easy to wield. Action is far rarer, and sacrifice even rarer still. Elias nodded. I understand. Tell me what you need. The princess rose from her throne, her golden veil rippling like water. Her form was tall and ethereal, and even though Elias couldn't see her face, he could sense her power, a quiet storm waiting to be unleashed. There is a relic, she said, an ancient artifact stolen from my people long ago. It lies on a forsaken world, guarded by creatures born of shadow and despair. If you truly seek my aid, you will retrieve it. Elias frowned slightly. And if we fail? Then your kind is doomed, she replied simply. Tessa stepped forward, her voice trembling but resolute. Forgive me, your highness, but how does recovering this relic prove anything? Isn't there another way? The princess turned toward Tessa, and though her face was hidden, her presence seemed to grow sharper. Do you doubt my judgment, human? Tessa shrank back, but stood her ground. No, I want to understand. The princess paused, then inclined her head slightly. The relic is more than a mere artifact. It is a symbol of trust and balance. Its theft fractured an ancient alliance, one that ensured peace between my people and the other species of this galaxy. Without it, chaos reigns. Retrieve it, and perhaps you will prove that humanity is capable of restoring what it has broken. Elias looked at Tessa, then back at the princess. We'll do it. The journey to the Forsaken World was grueling. The Luvaxian Guard provided them with coordinates and a warning. The planet, known as Kharax, was a graveyard of civilizations. Ships that landed there rarely left, and those who survived spoke of horrors beyond imagination. Great, Tessa muttered as they entered Kharax's atmosphere. We're heading straight into a galactic death trap. Remind me why I signed up for this again. Elias smirked. Because you couldn't resist the chance to make history. The ship shuddered as it descended through thick, stormy clouds. Lightning crackled around them, illuminating jagged peaks and ruins that jutted out like broken teeth. The ground was a desolate wasteland, littered with remnants of ancient structures. Charming place, Elias said, guiding the ship to a precarious landing spot. As they stepped out, the air was heavy with a metallic tang. The sky above was a swirling mass of dark clouds, and an eerie silence blanketed the landscape. Where do we even start? Tessa asked, clutching her scanner tightly. Elias pulled out a map provided by the Luvaxians. The relic is in the heart of the ruins. We stick together, stay alert, and move quickly. The ruins were a labyrinth of crumbling stone and alien carvings, each step echoing ominously in the still air. Strange whispers seemed to drift through the corridors, though there was no one around. This place gives me the creeps, Tessa whispered. Elias stopped, holding up a hand. Do you hear that? A low growl echoed through the ruins, followed by the sound of something scuttling across the stone. Tessa's eyes widened. What was that? Before Elias could respond, a shadow darted across their path. It was fast, too fast to get a clear look. Stay close, Elias said, drawing his blaster. The creature struck without warning, leaping from the shadows with a guttural snarl. It was a monstrous thing, all jagged limbs and gleaming fangs, its eyes glowing with an unnatural light. Elias fired, the blast illuminating the creature for a split second before it retreated into the darkness. There's more than one, Tessa said, her voice trembling. As if on cue, more shadows began to move around them, their growls growing louder. Run! Elias shouted. They sprinted through the ruins, the creatures in pursuit. The walls seemed to close in around them, the whispers growing louder until they became deafening. Finally, they burst into a large chamber. At its center was a pedestal, and atop it sat the relic, a glowing, crystalline orb that pulsed with a soft, rhythmic light. There it is, Tessa cried. Elias didn't hesitate. He ran to the pedestal, but as he reached for the relic, the ground shook violently. The largest of the creatures emerged from the shadows, its massive form towering over them. Its eyes burned with fury as it let out an ear-splitting roar. Elias! Tessa screamed. Elias grabbed the relic, the chamber flooding with light. The creatures recoiled, hissing and snarling, as if the light was burning them. Let's get out of here. Elias shouted, clutching the relic tightly. Back aboard their ship, Elias and Tessa barely had time to catch their breath. The creatures had chased them to the edge of the ruins, but the relic's light had kept them at bay. That was too close, Tessa said, slumping into her seat. Elias held up the relic, its glow illuminating his face. But we did it. And now we've got something to show the princess. When they returned to the Luvaxian flagship, the princess was waiting for them in the grand chamber. You succeeded, she said, her tone unreadable. Elias held out the relic. We did. Now, will you help us? The princess stepped forward, her veil shimmering as she took the relic. For a moment, she was silent. Then, she spoke. Perhaps humanity is capable of more than I thought. I will consider your request. But first, there is something you must understand. Elias frowned. What's that? The princess lifted her veil slightly, revealing only her eyes. Eyes that glowed with an intensity that made Elias's heart race. Not all alliances are built on trust alone, she said. Sometimes, they require something far greater. Elias felt a chill run down his spine at her words. The way she said far greater carried a weight that left him uneasy. What exactly do you mean? He asked, his voice steady but cautious. The princess turned, her veil cascading like liquid light, and gestured for him and Tessa to follow her. Come. There is something you must see before I decide. Elias glanced at Tessa, who shrugged nervously. Together, they followed the princess into a corridor that seemed to shift and shimmer as they walked. The walls pulsed with faint light, almost as if the ship itself was alive. After a few moments, they entered a chamber unlike anything Elias had ever seen. The room was vast, its ceiling disappearing into a haze of starlight. Suspended in the air were orbs of light, each one pulsating with a rhythm that felt alive. This is the memory chamber, the princess said. It holds the collective knowledge of my people, spanning millennia. Elias stared in awe. Incredible. The princess stopped in front of a larger orb, its glow more intense than the others. This, she said, is the memory of the last alliance between my people and yours. As she spoke, the orb flared, projecting images into the air. Elias and Tessa watched as scenes of war and destruction unfolded, human ships battling alongside Luvaxian forces against a terrifying enemy. But as the images progressed, something shifted. The humans began to turn on the Luvaxians, exploiting their trust and stealing their technology. Tessa gasped. That's horrific. But it can't be the whole truth, can it? The princess's voice was cold. The truth is rarely simple. But these memories show why my people have not trusted yours for centuries. Elias stepped forward, his jaw tight. I'm not here to defend the mistakes of the past. I'm here to prove we can be better. The princess regarded him silently for a long moment. Then she gestured toward another orb, smaller but glowing faintly. Take it, she said. It contains a fragment of our future, a possibility. If you can bear its weight, perhaps you are worthy of an alliance. Elias reached out and touched the orb. The moment his fingers made contact, his mind was flooded with visions. He saw humanity on the brink of extinction, its cities crumbling and its people scattered. He saw the Luvaxians, their ships descending to offer aid. But he also saw betrayal, a shadow of doubt that lingered between the two species, threatening to unravel everything they built together. The vision shifted. He saw himself standing beside the princess, leading a coalition of humans and Luvaxians against a greater enemy, a force of darkness that threatened to consume the galaxy. And then he saw her face. It was a fleeting glimpse, but it was enough to leave him breathless. Her beauty was otherworldly, her features both delicate and commanding. But her eyes, they held a sadness that seemed infinite, as if she had seen and endured far more than anyone could imagine. When the vision ended, Elias staggered back, his breath coming in ragged gasps. What was that? He asked, his voice hoarse. A glimpse of what may come, the princess said. Now you understand the stakes. If we are to forge an alliance, it will not be easy. Trust must be earned, and sacrifices will be demanded of us all. Elias straightened, his resolve hardening. I'm ready, whatever it takes. The princess nodded. Very well. We will help your people, but there are conditions. Over the next several weeks, the alliance began to take shape. The Luvaxians shared their technology and knowledge, helping humanity rebuild and fortify its defenses. In return, Elias and Tessa worked tirelessly to bridge the gap between their species, fostering trust and understanding. But not everyone was eager to see the alliance succeed. On the fringes of human space, a faction of radicals opposed to alien cooperation began to rise. They viewed the Luvaxians as a threat and saw Elias as a traitor. Their leader, a former military officer named Colonel Marcus Kane, launched a campaign to sabotage the alliance. "You're playing right into their hands, Elias," Kane said during a heated transmission. "They don't care about us. They're just using us to fight their battles." Elias clenched his fists. "You're wrong, Marcus. They're giving us a chance to survive. Don't throw that away." But Kane wouldn't listen. As tensions escalated, the shadowy enemy from Elias's vision began to stir. They called themselves the Kharax, a race of ancient beings who thrived on chaos and destruction. Their ships were massive and organic, resembling monstrous creatures, and their technology was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. The first encounter with the Kharax was devastating. A human colony was obliterated in minutes, its defenses useless against the enemy's overwhelming power. Elias knew the alliance would be tested like never before. "The Kharax are unlike any foe we've faced," the princess said during a council meeting. "Their strength lies not only in their weapons, but in their ability to sow discord among their enemies. If we falter, even for a moment, they will destroy us." Elias looked around the room, his gaze lingering on the human and Luvaxian leaders. "Then we can't falter. We have to stand together, no matter what." The final battle was a testament to the power of unity. Human and Luvaxian forces fought side by side, their combined strength pushing the Kharax back. Elias and the princess led the charge, their bond a symbol of the alliance's resilience. As the battle raged, Elias found himself face to face with a Kharax warlord. The creature was massive, its form shifting and writhing as if it were made of living shadows. "You cannot win," the warlord hissed. "Your alliance is weak. Your trust is a lie." Elias smirked, gripping his weapon tightly. "You don't know us as well as you think." With a final, devastating blow, Elias struck the warlord down. The tide of the battle turned, and the Kharax forces began to retreat. In the aftermath, the alliance between humanity and the Luvaxians was stronger than ever. Trust had been earned through sacrifice, and hope had been restored. As Elias stood beside the princess, watching the stars from the Luvaxian flagship, he finally asked the question that had been on his mind since the beginning. "Why did you trust me?" The princess turned to him, her veil shimmering in the starlight. "Because you dared to see beyond fear. And because, in you, I saw a future worth fighting for." For the first time, she lifted her veil completely, revealing her face. Elias felt his breath catch, not just because of her beauty, but because of the warmth and determination in her eyes. In that moment, he knew the alliance was only the beginning. Together, they would face whatever challenges the galaxy had in store, and they would win.